Cynthia Jane Anderson was a 20-year-old legal secretary in Toledo, Ohio, who mysteriously disappeared on August 4, 1981. More than 40 years later, the case remains unsolved, with several theories swirling around, but no conclusive answers. This case continues to capture the attention of true crime enthusiasts and law enforcement alike. The day of disappearance. A normal day gone wrong. On the morning of August 4, 1981, Cynthia Anderson arrived at the law office where she worked as a secretary. Witnesses last saw her at 9:45 a.m., and then she mysteriously vanished. What makes this case so haunting is the sheer number of strange details. When her colleagues arrived at the office, they found it locked from the inside, with no sign of a struggle. Her car, a 1980 Chevrolet Citation, was still parked outside, and inside the office, the phones hadn't been put on hold, something she always did before leaving. Even more eerie was her open romance novel, turned to a scene depicting an abduction. Police initially considered foul play, but struggled to find any tangible clues. The novel detail raised the hairs on investigators' necks, but no one could definitively say whether it was a clue or pure coincidence. The chilling graffiti. A disturbing clue emerged when someone spray-painted "I love you, Cindy" by G. Gallu on a wall outside her workplace about a year before her disappearance. The message was initially dismissed as a prank, but after Cynthia went missing, it took on a much darker tone. The initials G. Gallu did not correspond to anyone Cynthia knew, heightening concerns that she might have been stalked. Police later identified a man who confessed to writing the graffiti, but he claimed the message was meant for another woman named Cindy, not Cynthia Anderson. This bizarre explanation did little to calm suspicions, as many believed it was too much of a coincidence. Despite interviews and leads, law enforcement could not definitively link the graffiti to Cynthia's disappearance, adding yet another strange layer to this haunting mystery. The disturbing phone calls. Cynthia had been receiving unnerving phone calls in the weeks leading up to her disappearance. Witnesses reported that each call left her increasingly anxious, so much so that her employers had an alarm system installed at her desk to give her a sense of security. One colleague recalled her answering a call the day before she vanished, after which her demeanor dramatically shifted to fear and dread. Cynthia refused to share the details of these phone conversations, leaving a crucial gap in understanding the full scope of her fear. Police investigated this angle but couldn't trace the origins of the calls. In hindsight, these calls appear to have been a prelude to her disappearance, potentially from someone who knew her or was stalking her. Anonymous tip and basement theories. 1 month after Cynthia disappeared, police received a chilling anonymous phone call. The woman on the line whispered that Cynthia was being held in the basement of a White House, adding that there were 2 houses side by side, and that the family who owned them was out of town. The woman abruptly hung up before giving more details, and although she called again, she refused to provide additional information. Law enforcement scoured the area but could not find any houses matching the caller's description. Investigators were unsure whether this was a genuine tip or a cruel prank. To this day, the anonymous caller and her eerie claims about Cynthia's whereabouts remain a chilling and unresolved piece of the puzzle. Drug ring connections. In 1995, new attention was brought to the case when Cynthia's former boss, Richard Neller, and an associate, Jos Rodriguez Jr., were arrested for their involvement in a drug distribution ring. Some theorize that Cynthia had accidentally overheard details of their criminal activities and was silenced to prevent her from going to the authorities. During Rodriguez's trial, a witness claimed that he confessed to killing Cynthia to send a message to Neller. The story had all the elements of a crime thriller, but without concrete evidence, no charges were ever brought against Neller or Rodriguez for Cynthia's disappearance. It's yet another theory in a case brimming with speculation, but lacking in hard proof. Could it be a serial killer? In 1981, a series of unsolved murders occurred in Toledo, Ohio, around the same time as Cynthia's disappearance. 2 brothers, Anthony and Nathaniel Cook, were later convicted of several murders in the area. and some have speculated that they might have been involved in Cynthia's case. However, both brothers denied any involvement. Despite their denial, it's hard to ignore the possibility that Cynthia might have been another victim of these notorious killers. Police considered this angle, but once again, there was no evidence linking the Cook brothers to her disappearance, and the theory remains just that, an unproven theory. Did she run away? One theory that refuses to die is the idea that Cynthia may have run away to start a new life. While this might seem far-fetched, there have been occasional reports of sightings in places like Texas, though none were ever confirmed. Cynthia had plans to attend Bible college with her boyfriend, which makes the idea of her running away seem unlikely. She left behind her car and her savings, and her social security number was never used again. Investigators found no evidence to support this theory, but the question lingers: could she have left on her own accord? Most who knew her dismissed this theory, describing Cynthia as responsible and deeply connected to her family. Psychic dreams or premonition. Cynthia had been having recurring nightmares in the weeks leading up to her disappearance. According to her sister, Cynthia dreamed that someone she knew would knock on her door, only to abduct and murder her once she opened it. These nightmares seemed to shake her, and she confided in her family about them. Was this just an unfortunate coincidence, or did Cynthia somehow foresee the danger she would face? Some people believe that her dreams might have been a premonition, adding an almost supernatural element to the case. Either way, these dreams continue to haunt those familiar with the story. Law enforcement's struggles. Law enforcement faced immense challenges from the very beginning of Cynthia's case. There was no sign of a struggle at the office, no fingerprints, and no clear leads. Police interviewed numerous people, from her colleagues to potential suspects, but none provided substantial information. The FBI was even involved at one point, but the lack of forensic evidence stymied their efforts. Over the decades, detectives have come through tips, leads, and theories, but they've all hit dead ends. Cynthia's case is still listed as open, but investigators admit they are no closer to solving it than they were in 1981. Families enduring hope. Cynthia's disappearance devastated her family. Her parents, Michael and Margaret Anderson, never gave up hope that their daughter was still alive, possibly suffering from amnesia or being held somewhere against her will. Michael often spoke publicly, pleading for his daughter's return. Unfortunately, both parents passed away without ever learning what happened to Cynthia. Their enduring hope in the face of overwhelming uncertainty is heartbreaking. To this day, her surviving family members and friends continue to seek answers, hoping that someday they'll receive closure on this tragic mystery. Thank you for watching. If you found the mystery of Cynthia Anderson's disappearance as intriguing as we did, make sure to hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think happened to Cynthia? Is there something we missed? Let us know, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into unsolved mysteries, true crime, and more captivating stories.